So welcome to today's ViodiTV. We are with Will Myles. And C, you were introduced to us last week from a good friend, Kristi Westbrock of CTC Communications. And today's topic is comedy, corporate comedy in a time of COVID. And what I saw she was doing, I thought was really unique. So why don't you tell us, we're going to talk about you and some of the things you do, but why don't you first tell us about the gig you had a couple weeks ago in rural Minnesota, but you weren't really in rural Minnesota. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that gig and we'll get your perspective on things.
Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me, Ken. I really appreciate it. And obviously the show that I did, technically I was in central Minnesota, and officially I was not. So we did it over Zoom, and it was awesome to get back. And it was more of a humor in the workplace type of talk that she wanted, and it worked out really good, because I think at this, doing this, as everybody say now, unprecedented time, we all need to laugh, and when you go back to work, man, you really need to laugh, because it's scary. It's scary times out there right now. So it was an honor to perform for them and to talk with. And all my shows, no matter if I'm doing a motivational speak or if I'm doing comedy, it's gonna be funny, So it was important for them to hear that. She thought it was important for them to laugh and relax a little bit as they just now getting back to work.
One of the things that you're known as is America's everyday comedian. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I will tell you, back in late 2000s, no, it was probably early 2000s. Early 2000s, I was doing radio, KSGS 950 in Minneapolis. It was Solid Gold Soul radio station. We had a marketing director there by the name of Katie Knudsen. And I'd done several shows. I left the radio station one weekend to go on the road and do some shows. And that when I worked at the radio, they allowed me to still do my comedy and stuff. So I wound up doing a cruise ship, coming back from doing a cruise ship, did a college. After a college gig, I did a corporate gig. And after a corporate gig, I did a comedy club. And then I came back to work that next Wednesday. And she saw my schedule and saw that I went from cruise ship, which was a mixed audience of older people and from all around the world. And then I went to do a college, which was, 18 to 21 year olds. And then I went to do a corporate event, which is, very clean event. And then I went to do a comedy club, which is a toss up. And she just said, you're kind of like America's everyday comedian. Basically she said everyday comedian. She said, but you're like America's everyday comedian. And it just stuck. And so she started calling me that. And then Freddie Bell, who was the host of the morning show that I was working on, the next morning, that's how he introduced me. And then we got a hold of my graphic designer, my website guy, and then told my agent, this is the new deal. This is what we're going with. That's my brand, and that's what we're going to do. And it's been that way now since, I want to say 2000.
So long before there was such a thing as a hashtag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I wish there was a hashtag back then, I probably would have been using it. But now it rings off now off the tip of my tongue. It was hard to say at first because it's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like my wife told me too. She said anybody can carry this. You can. She said because you work. I've seen you at high schools. I see you talk to high school kids. I see you at nurses convention. I see you at doctors convention. I see you at, she said, I saw you do a director of funeral homes. You're the only person I know can walk on that stage without a script in your hand, but yet look at that audience. And she said, only America's everyday comedian could do that. And then I was like, I said, my wife believes in me, and I got to believe that I can do it. And so I put it on everything, and it's been on everything since I want to say 2000, 2001, somewhere in there.
Well, I want to talk about another hashtag, but not quite yet, the true story hashtag. So remind me if we don't get there. But first, I want to talk a little bit about your background, because it's pretty unique in terms of, your major in college and where you went to college.
Yeah. the ironic part about my whole life is everything, and I've said this before, and I'm in the process of writing a book as well, but everything I've previously done led me to be doing exactly what I'm doing today. You know, every job I've ever had, every place I ever lived, every time I walked out the door, and with everything I've done led me to be doing exactly what I'm doing today. And when I was in college, I was a theater and psychology major. No, not because, and I tell people this, I didn't major in psychology because I wanted to help people. I majored in psychology because I have 9 older sisters.
Oh my goodness.
When you have 9 older sisters, brother, you got issues. You have a lot of issues, and you need some professional help. So I needed the free help, you know. That's why I became a psychology major, so I could ask all the right questions. So I was the David Banner long before the Incredible Hulk. I was not trying to find a formula to cure myself of some of the issues I had growing up with 9 older sisters.
Oh my gosh.
And the fact that I was a theater major as well, it helped me oratorically to be able to express myself. And as I said, all the comedy that I do, some of my best stories comes from a very dark place inside of me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like most comedians and most artists, I mean, that's where we get our inspiration from. Is a lot of our pain is our inspiration. Now, I love my family. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying that's where it all came from. And this comedy thing that I had no intentions of being a comedian. I backed into this gig. It wasn't one of those where this is what I want to do. Or I always loved Bill Cosby. I've always loved Jonathan Winters. But I'm just saying, all of that I used to love as a kid led me really to be doing it, even though I didn't say, like you talk to a Dave Chappelle or you talk to an Eddie Murphy, they knew at 14 years old that they wanted to be a comedian. I didn't. It didn't dawn on me till after college.
Are there any kids younger than you in your family, or are you the youngest?
I have a younger brother.
Oh my gosh. So there's 11 of you by my count.
Right.
Your poor mother.
I always, when people ask me that, did you have a younger brother? I say, anybody younger than you? And I go, yeah, I have a younger brother, but he doesn't count. He really doesn't count.
He had you to buffer. Yeah.
Right. He came after me. So I was the buffer between him, and Satan's disciples.
So how long after college did you go into comedy? What was between comedy and college?
I was 29. I want to say I was 29 years old when the first comedy that I did. I was 31 when I started in the comedy club. So, right. So that was after my daughter was born. Yes. So I was, a friend of mine opened up a restaurant, and up top of the restaurant, he had a banquet facility. He wanted to start a comedy club. And he goes, man, I would love to have you come down and be the MC. Everybody in town knows you. And at that time, I was assistant basketball coach at St. Cloud State as well. And he said, if you come down just to be the MC, we'll draw enough people just to come see you, every Friday, Saturday. I'm like, I don't know, man. He said, and when I did agree to do it, I thought I was just going to be an MC. He said, first of all, you're funny. First of all, people like you. And I think you can get up on that stage and entertain people. He said, and if you tell some of those funny stories about coming from Alabama to Minnesota, like I used to tell him all the time when I was like, dude, I ain't never seen this in my life. And he was like, and there was a lot of days where I said, I've never heard of this. I don't know what this is, And so I would get up there, and sure enough, for almost 2 years, I was an MC at this place in St. Cloud called Charlie's. And it just turned out to be a career after that. Every comic after comic after comic kept coming up there saying, like, dude, you need to go to Minneapolis. You're too funny to be up here. You're too funny to be up here. You're too funny to be up here. So after about a couple of years of doing MC work, then I wind up heading to Minneapolis. And I quit coaching, moved to Minneapolis, worked in the hospitality industry because I had a hotel background.
Okay.
After college, and then I wound up working at hotels and doing comedy on the weekends. And then all of a sudden, within a year and a half, my career just it took off. I got signed with a label out of Minneapolis, and they sent me out at colleges and cruises. I didn't do the whole road gig thing like a lot of guys did. They spend 2-3 years on the road, and I never did that.
Okay.
I kind of, like I said, I backed into comedy because I already had a job. I had kids. I had 2 kids at that time. I had a job, always had life insurance, health insurance, money in the bank, so I literally, and this is a true story, I would literally get booking agents would call and ask me if I was available this week. I would literally say no, even though I was, just so I can sound a lot more busy than I was.
Okay, sure.
So I would turn down gigs but I would move them out and then pile them up where I would have like boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
And then I'd really be busy, and they said, well, we better book this guy now because he's getting booked out, And sure enough, it worked. And
it sounds like it gave you more time for your kids too.
Exactly. And it kept me from having to take gigs that I didn't want, you know what I mean? And sometimes you don't, as a comedian, they always say, you got to pay your dues and you got to go do it. And I was like, not necessarily. I said, paying your dues is getting up on that stage and performing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have to go to the strip club route like some of these guys. Oh my God, I had to perform after the strippers left or before the strippers or whatever. Yeah. I had to do stuff like that. I never went into places where I felt very, very uncomfortable or anything like that.
Well, the other thing that makes you unique is you have a clean act.
And I started out that way. And I think what I was saying earlier was that I always admired Bill Cosby when I was a kid, and Jonathan Winters, Red Skelton. These were some of the people. I love comedians that could make me laugh without saying anything, just their facial expression. And of course, I was a huge Richard Pryor fan because I just loved his energy on stage, And so those were the guys that I kind of emulated on stage. That's who I wanted to be like. If I was, if I was going to be an entertainer, I wanted to be an entertainer. I didn't want to just be a comedian, not saying that being a comedian is bad. I mean, I am a comedian, but I prefer entertainer.
One of the things that seems that's allowed is to give you a wide audience, much wider than if you did have an act that was a certain way. Right.
And it does. I mean, it gives you longevity in this business when you're clean and when you're versatile. Like I said, I mean, when you can go to colleges, to comedy clubs, to cruise ships, to theaters, and that's versatility, and you got to be able. And I don't repeat a lot of shows. Matter of fact, I don't repeat any shows. I go on stage and I'll do a 75-minute show, and if I got to come back the next night and do another show, I'll maybe do some of that stuff, but I won't do all of it at all. Maybe 20% of it. Because my show is observational humor. So I really try very hard to get to town early, visualize where I'm at, kind of get the pulse of the city, the pulse of the county, the pulse of the state that I'm in.
Okay.
I start doing my comedy. So I don't want people to think I'm just showing up in your town with my shtick and then take a check and leave. I want you to know I was in town. I want you to know I ate at this restaurant, or I stopped at this gas station, or this is the hotel I was staying at, or I drove by this house. What's the deal with that house? You know what I mean? Stuff laughing and this, that, and the other. And I was like, man, what's up with this beautiful house? Like, I was in New Ulm, Minnesota. This is a true story.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, I said, man, I saw this nice plantation house. I really wanted to buy it. It's right on the corner. And then it's like everybody started laughing because it's the most beautiful home in New Ulm, but it's a funeral home.
Oh. Were you aware of that when you said that? Was that part of the joke, or that it was a funeral home? Yeah.
Well, I knew it was a funeral home.
Yeah.
I wanted them to know.
Yeah.
So I just played it off like it was the most
yeah.
I've ever seen. I said, the lawn is upkeep. So I said, I ain't never seen a yard that clean. And then my next door is like, then why? Who they cleaning up for? You're pretty much done when you get there. I mean, you don't see them. That's for the visitors.
That's funny. Yeah, Herman the German is in New Ulm, I believe. Right.
That's right, my friend. You know a little bit of something about that.
I've been up there a couple of times. A lot of. Well, there's a telephone company there. My gosh, this audio is bad today. I apologize for that. But one of the things, it sounds like you had an internet problem yourself, and we're on a self. Yeah, go ahead.
We built a home here. My wife and I just built a new place here, and the landscape company came and they were putting down our rock and landscaping and stuff, and they came in with one of those little bobcats and was digging up the ground and just cut my cable right in half. I wasn't home when it happened, but it was funny because I was talking to my wife and she was at work, and she was just getting ready to she went in. We have a camera out front, and so she was just trying to hit the button to talk to them, to tell them where they're starting to dig. That's where our internet line is. As soon as she hit the button, it went blank. It's just the feed, it just went offline. And then I got a message on my phone that your camera just went offline. I'm like, oh no. It was like I got an interview on Friday, and I said, oh my God. I said, I don't have internet, and we don't have very good phone service, here, and because it's a new development, and so they haven't put up a phone tower. But there's one about a mile from here. So luckily, I think I'm strong enough to keep it going.
Yeah, and I'm muting myself to see if that helps. It seems like it's me talking or something might be the bigger issue, which makes sense because I often sputter, just noise and garbage. But it's got to be challenging to be funny in times like this, particularly. And maybe we should talk first about the whole thing. You have a lot of physical comedy, and how does that translate in the video conference world?
Well, the thing that I've been trying not to do is do comedy over, because I am a visual person. I need to see everybody in front of me, not just one or two people or 8 people on the screen. I need to see the audience. I need to feel that I get that feedback from when I say stuff, and I need to look at people's face. Am I keeping you engaged? Because if I keep you engaged, once I see your engagement level, I know I'm on the right track. You know what I mean? But if I can't see that, then I'm just talking, and I'm not just a talker. I hate getting up on stage, and I hate seeing entertainers on stage just saying stuff, and it ain't funny. You don't care if they laugh or not. You're getting paid. I cannot, and I don't want to ever be that type of entertainer. I just don't want to be that. So I told my agents I would do, humor in the workplace. I would talk, I'll do any other kind of talk they want, except for I won't do like a routine. I said, I'll be funny, but I won't do a routine. I'll tell some funny stories in between, getting my message out. It's called humor with a message. So, and there's I've had several offers to do comedy. I can't bring myself to. I'm a purist. Let's put it that way. I like being on the stage. That's why I left LA. That's why I didn't want to be an actor. That's why I didn't want to be in movies, because I want instant gratification.
It sounds like there's a big part of it is the relationship you get with the audience, or that connection.
Yes. And so like what I do, Ken, is when I show up for my show, whether it's public or corporate or colleges, I get there early. I do a meet and greet. I don't sit back in my dressing room and wait for them to say my name and walk out on stage. And I didn't ever want to be that type of entertainer. I didn't ever want to be that big where people couldn't, connect with you. So I'll be out in the lobby when my public shows, when I do my theater shows, I show up 2 hours before my show, do my sound check, and I'll go straight to the lobby. And I'll hang out and I'll watch people come in. I'll take pictures with them. I'll shake their hands. I'll chat with them, because a lot of people that come to my show come repeatedly every single year. It's like a band. And that's why I do such different shows all the time, because they put so much pressure on me. Like there are people who will tell you that they've been coming to my show every year for almost 20 years. And they said, we don't miss you. When you're in town, we come to your show. There's a little place not far from my home here. It only seats about 150 people, but every Thanksgiving I do a Monday, Tuesday show there, and we pack it every night. But I've been doing that moved to California in 2013. So I've been doing it since 2013. And so this will be my 7th year in a row, 2010. So this will be my 13th year that I've done it in a row there, and it's sold out.
Did you mean 2007 or
7? Would that be 7?
Yeah, for 13 years in a row. Yeah, sorry, I'm just doing the math in my head, but it doesn't matter. But
yeah, I was doing it downtown at Acme at the Comedy Club, which that's my home club where I started my career in Minneapolis. But because I don't want to work a whole week, because I was working Tuesday, Wednesday, and then off on Thanksgiving Day, and then 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday. And it's got to a point where that's why I quit doing Comedy Club, because I didn't want to work Tuesday through Saturday. That's a regular job. I said, now just go work at Target then or something. That's Monday through Friday. I don't want to do that. So I like doing the type of shows that I do, but I still get there, even though these are the same people that have been seeing me year in and year out. I still get there 2 hours before my show. I still meet and greet everybody that walks in the door, and people love that. And all my fans, friends, and family say the same thing about me. I'm an approachable guy. I love when I get on stage. I don't pick on my audience. I might call you out on a couple of things, but I'm not picking on you. I'll just say, because my friend owns the restaurant, but he's also my traveling buddy. We go on golf trips and stuff together. And he's a great guy, awesome father, good businessman, but he has a shopping problem, And so I may bring that up, but everybody who knows him know that. Like, you will not see this cat in the same outfit ever. He wear a different golf. Every time we go golfing, he has a brand new golf shirt on. It's like, dude, really? I buy groups of shirts. So I'll have like 6 shirts. I rotate them. And then after about a couple of years, I'll buy 6 more, and I'll get those 6 shirts to my brother. I rotate them out. He will buy a new shirt. Every time we go golfing, we go into the golf club, he buy it, no matter where we're golfing, he'll buy 2 or 3 shirts. 2 or 3 shirts. I'm like, where are you putting all these clothes? So
that's funny. That's the other thing it's really makes it different too is you go up on stage and your routine is original, right? I mean, you haven't really planned it out word for word or anything, right?
No, I don't. And that's what's my wife likes. She said, I am so nervous for you every time you go on stage. She said, because I know you. She said, I don't pre-script out my show. I don't want to have a set show, because I remember one time, it was in 1984, 85, one time I heard Mike Tyson say, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And he said, and then everything changes. Once you have a plan, you stick to your game plan when you jab, left hook, right hook, jab, left hook, right. He said, all that makes sense until you get hit in the face. When you get hit in your face, your whole plan changes. Well, that's what comedy. You go on stage and you script out your first 4 or 5 jokes, and what if not one of them is funny? Then you got to try to change your show right now. And then if you're not used to doing that, you struggle. So for me, what I do, the first 5 minutes of my show is just chit chat. And whatever you laugh at the hardest, that's the road I go down. So the audience dictate what type of show they're going to get that night. And if I tell people about my travel to get there, and if they laugh really hard about what I said about how I traveled there, everything's going to be travel related. If it's about what I ate before I got on stage, if they laugh at that the hardest, it's going to be food related. And then when I say food, I'm talking buffet, regular restaurants. nice restaurants, or I'm talking about eating over at your friend's house, going out to dinner with your friends. That it'll just pile up, but it'll all be about eating. And you'll die, and you'll think to yourself at the end of the show, oh my God, I never thought about eating like that. It's like drive-through. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you ever been to a drive-through restaurant with people, and you got enough time to read the menu while the person in front of you is ordering. You should know what you want. And first of all, or if you're inside of a McDonald's, you go inside of a McDonald's and you go, oh, I don't know what I want. It's McDonald's. They really have a commercial. They sell 4 billion burgers a year. What did you want? I mean, if you didn't want a burger, why would you come to McDonald's? Yeah, they serve chicken. It ain't real. But you don't come to McDonald's with chicken. You go to Kentucky Fried Chicken for chicken. Oh, I want a chicken sandwich. They serve those at Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's what they do. They do chicken there. Here to get a burger. So that type of stuff. But I can go on and on about food, about the buffet, about how many, you know, when you go to a buffet, people always go up with a plate, and it's like, it's all you can eat, man. Why are you piling your plate up? Like, this is your last supper. All you can eat in the period of time that you're here, not on the first plate. You know? And
there's a couple of great marketing lessons here. I think one of them is, you know, connecting with your audience, which you clearly do before, so you kind of understand what they want even before you go on stage. And then when you're on stage, you know, meeting them where they are and adapting your message to what will appeal to them.
Right. And that's exactly what I do. I'm a good listener. So when I meet people in the lobby, I'm listening too. I'm listening to what they're saying, who they brought with them, what they've been doing, or where they're going after this, or how they got here today. I'm listening to other people saying, this is about my friend is from such and so, or, you know what I mean? So I listen to their stories, and I listen to what people are talking about to kind of get the pulse of what's going on. And people will tell you, you know, but I have people come up to me, especially people who've seen my shows year in and year out, will come up and say, hey, are you going to do the bit about the Catholic Church? Hey, are you going to do the bit about your 9 sisters? Hey, are you going to do the bit about the dog chasing the cat? He said, man, you got to do that one. My sister and my brother-in-law are here tonight, and they dog chase the cat all the time. It's sad, Willi. It's really sad. You got to tell the story. And I was like, okay, but then I'll try to fit it in. But then again, like if I have enough people give me enough ideas, I'll put that show together just like that. And it'll just be a scattered show. But I always tell people all the time, you can't just request something because then I got to build a show around what you just suggested.
Well, and do you ever have a hard time remembering that bit from a year ago that might have been a one-time throwaway type of thing, or?
If it was really good, no. If I thought it was really good, then I'll never forget those. If I thought it was really good, if I thought it was just funny, but it's a period piece, then I won't use it all the time. You know, I have throwaway lines that I like to use and stuff, but just to kind of segue into something, if I run out of a pattern and stuff that I want to do, I'll segue and I got a bit that I throw away, and then I'll change directions and just kind of not really a left turn. I'll just yield on, just get off the main highway and just go on a service road. So it's still kind of the same stuff, but it's off of that, you know, because I'm trying to close it out now and head down a different way, and I want to shut it down.
Well, that might be a good time to talk. I mean, I thought had a pretty good discussion the other day, and I think it starts really with your background coming from Mobile, Alabama in the 60s. You know, you saw life through different eyes than mine. And clearly we're seeing a lot of things in America today that, and that, you know, maybe it reflects some of those times. Maybe they're different. I want to tell us a little bit about where you came from and how you got to St. Cloud, and then we'll have a further discussion.
As a kid growing up in Mobile, Alabama, I grew up in the projects, the Orange Grove projects down in Mobile. But I was born, and I just found this out, and this is real, about 2014 or so, 2015, 2013, I found out I was born in a city, it used to be called Africatown. And the reason they called it that, it was where the last slave ship was landed in Mobile, Alabama, and the last descendant from that ship died in that city in 1927, I want to say. And so my mom, my grandmother, and my mother, they were all born there, and my mom and my grandmother are both buried at that same cemetery with all those, those founders of that city. And I didn't really know that till I did an ancestry deal back in 2013 or so. And then all of a sudden I got this linked, like this, you're connected to this city. And I was like, oh my God. And I talked to my sister, and it was just funny because my mom had passed when I was early. So I didn't get to ask her a whole bunch of questions and stuff. She died and she was only 61 years old. But anyway, I was born and raised down south, and growing up in the 60s in Alabama doing segregation, it was hard. It was really hard. It was tough on African-American kids, especially the boys, because it was, you were being tested every day, and where we had to go to school. I came up when busing was a thing, and segregation schools, they closed down the black schools, forced you to go to the white schools. So the parents didn't want you there, the teachers didn't want you there, the kids didn't want you there, but the government told us we had to go there. So I mean, it was just, I grew up and there were still areas of places you couldn't even go to yet. Like I'd never eaten at a McDonald's before.
Really?
Because there wasn't one in an area where I felt safe enough to go, where I could go and order.
It wasn't like you were, they excluded you per se, other than it was the social aspects of it.
They weren't nowhere near where I grew up. So in order to have that, you had to go to a neighborhood that that you had no business in. And if you did show up there, you were just a troublemaker. You know what I mean? So it was a guy from, I think it was out of Corpus Christi, that opened up a Whataburger. And Whataburger was like kind of halfway between areas where that's the first fast food burger I ever had, where you could like buy a fast food burger from a legitimate fast food, restaurant.
To be fair, the first McDonald's in Lodi wasn't until like 1976 or something. Whoops, we just lost your picture. Oh, there we go. So, I mean, McDonald's at that point still wasn't everywhere in America, amazingly. I mean, it's hard to believe now, that because you can't, but it's interesting because it probably didn't go to your neighborhood it just wasn't probably as profitable maybe or something.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't have anything on our side of the town. So the places where we went were, see, there were black restaurants and there were white restaurants. So we had like Church's chicken, and we had Popeye's chicken. There was Kentucky Fried Chicken, but Kentucky Fried Chicken wasn't in our neighborhood.
Interesting.
Popeyes was in our neighborhood. That's me. You know what I mean? That's how we had to. That's how things work down south. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why the Popeyes is so popular. I mean, people now just start seeing Popeyes, in the last several years, pop up all over the place now, and they're very popular now. But we knew about Popeyes years ago down when I was a kid, growing up in Alabama, Church's Chicken and stuff like that, because that's where we used to have to go. Krispy Kreme didn't care. Krispy Kreme was for everybody. You can go to Krispy Kreme. They didn't care what color you were, what national. They didn't care. You know what I mean? And I don't think McDonald's did either. It's just that people, when they bought the franchise, they put them in areas where, where they wanted them, and our area wasn't one of them. So, but at the end of the day, it made me a better person, I think, growing up in that type of environment where, you heard the N word every day, every day. You heard it at school. You heard it on the bus. You heard it if you're walking down the street. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a horrible place. Like, I could never live down south ever again. When I left to go to college, there was a lot of schools that I could have went to, and my father begged me not to go to school down south. He said, go north. When St. Cloud State came a calling, I thought, man, what a blessing. You know what I mean? I didn't know nothing about Minnesota. The schools where I grew up in, I can tell you without hesitation, and I've graduated with a lot of good friends, and they'll tell you the same thing. We were not expected to be where we are today. We were not. Our teachers didn't give us like hardly no assistance. You know,
Wow.
They didn't give us the guidance that you would give a kid. You know what I mean? That I was not a troublemaker. None of my friends were. We were all 2-3 sport athletes, coming to class every day, not skipping school, not hanging on the corner, not causing any trouble. But I mean, I had a teacher tell me one time in the civics class. This is a true story, and sometimes I get emotional when I tell a story, and I don't like to tell it very often. But he looked at us, and we had brand new books, and he said he passed out all the books, and then there was about 15, 20 books left in the box, and we didn't get any. And there was about 6 or 7 African-American kids in the class. None of us got a new book. And then I finally asked, I asked him, I said, any way we can get a new book? And he goes, this is a teacher said,
Yeah.
Our new books are for the kids who are gonna be going off to college.
Wow.
That's what he said. He said, and I'm gonna be honest with you. He said only 1 in 5 of you will go to college. That's what he said. 1 in 5.
Wow.
He said, I don't think those 5 kids are in my class.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Full disclosure, we all went to college.
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
well, that's the best revenge, right? Is proving them wrong, right?
I mean, I'm talking Tuskegee. I'm talking Howard University. I'm talking Alabama A&M. We all went to college, and it was just that. But that was our teachers' mentality at the time. You know what I mean? They didn't want us there. You know, but I was, like we said, we didn't want to be here. What you're doing was wrong.
Yeah.
You got the cool stuff here, and they were giving no more money to the school. The governor, the president of the United States of America said this segregation stuff has got to stop.
Right.
They pay taxes like everybody else, and their schools are not getting any money, nothing new. The buildings are falling apart, and these people are building brand new schools with state money.
Yeah.
Our money, taxes that we pay to the state as well.
Right.
At any rate, we left, and I went on to college at St. Cloud State, and athletically, probably the worst decision I ever made. But honestly, if I had to do it all over again, I'd choose it. It was economically, socially, it was everything that it was. I got more out of that school than I even thought I could.
So did you play 4 years of football there at St. Cloud?
Yes.
So, and on scholarship, was it scholarship?
I came up on a scholarship. I played there until my eligibility was up, and then I wind up coaching there also for 6 years. I coached football and basketball as assistant football and assistant basketball coach. And
it obviously is a huge success. I mean, you said it yourself. And that's got to be the challenge, though, with especially the football programs where kids do go in as scholarships, but then, they don't finish or whatever because they get injured or whatever. I mean, that's got to be, what are your thoughts on that? I have mixed feelings, right? I love college football. I love rooting for the kids and the teams, but, sometimes I feel bad for those who get there, but then, can't quite get through.
Well, it was hard, and it was a struggle for me. I spent a lot of time on academic probation because
join the club. But at least you had a good reason.
The thing is that at the end of the day, I think a lot of it had to do with just the lack of education I had from my high school. You know what I mean? It's not that I got good grades, but it was just, I'm from Alabama, you know, and they're not high on the academic charts, but I wasn't an academic All-American in high school either. But I was not, you know, I was a B student, C plus B, you know what I mean? That's where I hovered. But when you go to college, and it was hard, a couple of things that I found when I went to St. Cloud State was that I was a long way from home. And when you don't have that guidance with you, when you start doing things on your own. Second, I didn't know how cold it got in Minnesota. I had no idea how cold it got in Minnesota. And I didn't know how much it snowed. I knew, and that's what I'm saying. When you grow up in Alabama, geographically, I did not know what Minnesota was. You understand what I'm saying? So when I got here, I knew it was up north, but so is Tennessee compared to Alabama. So when I got to Minnesota, I didn't know in January that it would be 30 below zero. I had no idea. It was off the chain. You can't even explain. I didn't go to school all winter quarter because first thing I heard the weather lady said, the wind chill factor is so low. If you're outside for more than a half an hour exposed, you could die. Well, I'm thinking, where am I? This is not a place that I had planned on going. This is not what I signed up for. There was no mention of that in the brochures that they sent me from St. Cloud State. There's no brochure with anybody wearing a coat. Not a single one. Not one. And I think to myself, man, they really foolsnickered me. They really got me really good because all the books I got, there are kids having classes outside, people down walking across this 10th Street Bridge. I can still see it as vivid as it is today. People having classes outside, people walking around with T-shirts on and capri pants and, you know, just all that sandals and free love, all this just crazy stuff going on. And the Lake George is showing all the beautiful sculptures and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is just like home. It's just like home. And then all of a sudden I got there and my problem was I came to school in the middle of the winter. And that was the end of that. That was it took me a while to bounce back from that. And just I still to this day don't care for the cold weather here. I just don't.
Well, it's hard to kind of until you experience it. You can read about it, but it's not the same, right?
Ken, I'm saying, like, I didn't know that the hair in your nasal could break off, would freeze and break off, man. That was, to me, was like, I couldn't feel like the tip of my nose. I was just like when you inhale and it just took your breath away. It's like, I was like, who can live like this? I mean, where is the oxygen in the air around here? It's like, oh my God. Every time I went outside, it was my fingers would get so cold. And I was just like, and these people would just laugh at me. So they would get coats and everybody would get, like, one of the funniest stories is when I got frostbite and on my left cheek. And my roommate, his girlfriend gave me a ski mask. And I wore that ski mask everywhere. Everywhere. When I tell you everywhere, I wore it everywhere. And
inside and outside?
Everybody on campus knew me. There was only like about 18 African Americans going to school there. But you saw a black kid running across campus, it was see Willi. Because I didn't walk nowhere. I ran everywhere. I just thought, I just got to get there, man. And so one day I had to go to the bank. And all 5 of my roommates went with me to the bank because they knew I was going to hop out of this car and run into the bank with that ski mask on. And that's exactly what I did. Nobody, you would think somebody would say, see, Willi, before you run into that bank, you might want to lift up the ski mask. I ran into that bank and everybody in the bank hit the floor and started screaming. What's the deal? The lady said, she was on the floor and she said, well, you have a ski mask on. I'm like, well, you were wearing a wig. That's a true story.
So did her wig fall off? Or
Oh, yeah.
oh, is that so?
Wait, why are you gonna judge me? Don't judge me.
That's funny.
Hold out. She said, well, you don't wear a ski mask in the side of a bank. And that's exactly what the police told me when he got there, too.
Oh, really? He showed up, too.
Yeah. Somebody definitely called the police. They saw me running in the bank with my ski mask on.
Well, yeah, I mean.
I think the cop that showed up was a fan of the, he was a part of our St. Cloud State booster club. So he was a big football fan. So he figured it was me because everybody knew Willi ran across the campus all the time with a ski mask on. I wore it to class. I sat in class. They was like, is that you? And I'd be like, yep. I could never get warm, man. I was always cold. I was cold for like 3 straight years.
So do you still wear a mask then a lot?
No, I just go to Arizona in the wintertime.
Oh, there you go. That's smart. Yeah. Well, that's right. You're in California for a while. Well, and it does get into the kind of the serious this part of the discussion, which, and that has to do with kind of the police, your relations with police as far as, what are your thoughts on what's going on today? I mean, I certainly, I'm not the one to opine on things.
Right. And that, I'm always very honest about my interaction with police, and I like I said, I have family, and I have a lot of my friends that are law enforcement, military, fire. When I was a kid, man, I got to tell you this, I've seen it firsthand. I've always been afraid of cops. Always. As a kid, I saw what they did to my friend. I saw what they would do to us, the kids in the projects that had nothing to do with what was going on over there. We can't help if a fight breaks out around us and they just expect everybody to run home. I was with my friends and I just never had a great experience with them growing up, because where I grew up at, the police was, if you watch any part of television in the 60s and the Martin Luther King marches and stuff like that, and saw how these are peaceful protesters. These are people that are just walking down the street, man. And when they tell you to stop and they send the dogs after you in the water and they start beating you down, that's what happened in our neighborhood. If there was a fight in our neighborhood, they didn't just go after the people that was fighting. They went at every loose kid that was running around to send a message to you, like, this is what's going to happen. So I just never I was always afraid of them. It was always my mother talked to us all the time about, when you get involved with the police, just do what they say, do this, do that. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. No, sir. You know what I mean? It's like, and honest to God, I get, as an adult, and I've gotten pulled over so much. And I did a talk a while ago, and I told a lot of my friends, and you probably don't do this, and you probably don't know anybody else that does it either. I'm the only person I know, along with a handful of my African-American friends, that put their wallet in the cup holder when they're driving. That's the first thing I do.
You don't have to reach for inside your pants and to get it.
First thing I do. That's the first thing I do when I get in the car is drive. It's such a habit now that I put my wallet in there, because if they say when you see your driver's license, I want to be able to reach, see my hands right here. You know what I mean? It's like, I've been pulled over so many times for nothing, just because I was driving. I'm not bragging, but I drive really, really super nice SUVs, but I like, I don't know. If you can afford a nice SUV, why should I not buy a nice SUV? Right. Because I live in a town where you may, it's not my fault that I want a nice car. Sure. And I want to detail it, But anyway, I've gotten pulled over because they said my windows was too tinted, and I already know what the tint is, that I make sure that it is. I've been pulled over because I had a brand new vehicle, and they said, well, I didn't see the yellow tag in your car, but you saw it as you walked up, you saw it. I've been pulled over for not speeding, for not running a red light, for not running a stop sign. I I was pulled over one time for a spot check. That's what he said. He said, we're just doing spot checks tonight. After I was already at the gas, I was after a show. I went to a gas station, picked up some snacks and head back to my hotel. He was in the parking lot. I saw him.
Yeah.
Left the gas station, went right, and turned to go. And I was probably about a block and a half away from the hotel. Lights come on. Well, you could have spot checked me right there at the gas station. Got 2 squad cars showed up after he did. So it was 3 squad cars. I was driving my Cadillac Escalade with, I have 22-inch rims on it. And it was a super nice vehicle. I love it, you know. And all of a sudden, they asked me if I popped over my trunk. I didn't have to. There was no reason for them to do that. But I'm saying again, just like my mom and dad are in my head, just do what you do. And I popped over my. First, I always roll down all 4 of my windows, so
that's a good idea.
Somebody's in the back seat, and I pop up my tailgate, and I said, "There's nothing back there but golf clubs, and golf shoes." I said, "I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't own a firearm." I said, "You can search anywhere you want." I did. They went through my glove box, they went through my armrest, they went through my golf bag. I said, I don't smoke. I mean, I said, if you're looking for weed or if you're looking for cigarettes, I said, I don't even smoke cigarettes, dude. I said, there's nothing. I don't drink. I said, I got a bottle of water, some Cheetos. That's my guilty pleasure snacks at night. You know what I mean? And they did. And they just said, oh, no, we just do spot checks. And this, I said, okay. But it's scary because I don't know. And that's what my attorney said. Willie, they could have put stuff in your truck.
Oh, my gosh.
Not saying that, you know what I mean? But he's saying it happened.
Right.
He said, don't ever do that again. They need a reason to check your vehicle. He said, you're better off letting them arrest you for not doing it. But don't ever let them check your car like they said. They have no right to do that.
Right. A Fourth Amendment violation or something, I think. Right. Yeah. Unless they have a motivate or
not to do that anymore. But, and it's happened to me. So, like I said, I put all my stuff right there where and I'm scared a lot of times when I get pulled over by the cops at night because I travel at night. And now my wife knows why I don't drive home at night. I just stay over where I'm at. I usually, if I was within 100 miles, I'd drive home. I don't do that anymore now. I stay overnight and just wake up in the morning because I always got stopped at night. You know what I mean? And that's a scary time to get stopped is at night, you know, because anything is possible. And what's transpired here in Minneapolis was sad. It was, and it's the reason why we're in the situation we're in today. That 9-minute video put us where we're at today, and that's sad, you know. And it is what it is, you know. And now we got to deal with it head on. It's happening in Portland. It's happening everywhere. I mean, people are. I think they saw it with their own eyes. When you see somebody die right in front of you like that, I mean, for me, and I got to be honest, I never cried more as a grown man than I did those couple of weeks after that, because I could put my face on his face. I could see that happening to me if they wanted to, because I travel out to central Wisconsin, central Iowa, central Nebraska, central, you know, north and South Dakota. I'm not saying these are, you know, these are all cops are bad, but I can't believe that people will say stuff like, you know, these protesters or whatever are all bad, you know, and because they're not, you know, but they don't want to say you can't judge every police by a bad one. He's just a bad apple. Well, there's a lot of bad apples. And so I'm gonna tell you what my dad told me. If there's 100 cops and there's 10 bad, and if the 90 don't turn the 10 in, then there's 100 bad cops. I mean, that guy has no right to be on the police force. He has no right to call himself a police for what he did, and we all saw it. And it's scary because you know he literally, it was casual.
Yeah, horrific. It was
It was cat, but what I'm trying to get across is that it doesn't, people don't think about it unless it affects them. And I think it affected a lot of people who saw the video.
Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
Well, it almost goes back to the Minnesota example where you know it's minus 30 degrees, but you really can't just, understand that till you face it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the thing is that when you see something like that, there's no taking it back. There's no unseeing it. You can't unsee that. And he took his last breath. And if you've never had, I mean, for me, I've never had cuffs. I've never been in cuffs. I've been close, but I've never had cuffs on. I've had gun drawn on me, but I've never, you know what I mean? And I'd be like, this is not, you got the wrong person. I'm telling you right now, this is who I am. Look at my truck. There's CDs in there. I have no idea who you think I am, but I am not that guy. And all of my friends, I tell them all the time, man, I don't care what anybody tell you. If something ever happens to me, number one, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't own a weapon. And if somebody finds a weapon in my car or drugs in my car, they put them there. I didn't do it because I don't do that kind of stuff. And I've told everybody that. My lawyer knows that. My friends know that. My friend who used to be the chief of police knows that. I say, I'm going to need you guys to come to my defense because there's no, I went to St. Cloud State. If I was going to start drinking, that would have been a place to do it. I lived my whole life without drinking and doing drugs or smoking. And whatever they found in my vehicle, they put it there. You know what I mean? That's how scary it is if you're an African American. Like I said, that I have a lot of white friends that don't feel that way. You know what I mean? And when they talk to me, they say that. They say, Willie, I had no idea that, he said, you go to you're up there in Jamestown, North Dakota, you're in Williston, you're up there in these off the beaten track places where, you don't see a whole lot of black people. The shows are 100% white, most of them. You know what I mean? And I'm in a all white town.
Right.
And they don't even have any adopted black kids or nothing.
Right.
So, I mean, it don't bother me none. You know what I mean? I don't mind doing it, but it gets a little sketchy for me every once in a while because if something was to go down, who's there to speak for me?
Right. It's just such a different outlook that you have to have because of all these instances. It's got to kind of wear on you, thinking that you have to have your guard up.
We have your guard up, and like my mother say, always be on your best behavior. Always be on your best behavior, and that's me. And I always, my dad always says, be the kind of person that people see when they're not looking for you. You know what I mean? Like don't be something about somebody and then act another way when you're not around people. So be the best version of yourself. And that's what I'm always, when I'm out in public, I'm the best version of myself. Most of the time when I'm on myself, I'm at home. But the best version of myself, always at the grocery store, at the gas station, at the, farmer's market, at my comedy shows, at my friend's house, when I meet my neighbors, the best version of myself. That's where you want to be in it. And sometimes it's tiresome, you know what I mean? It really is. It's hard being, because everybody else get to be just themselves and not the best version. And you see a lot of people who are not the best version of themselves and nobody judge them, but we don't have that luxury sometimes. You know what I mean? Because as soon as you see some, and then we're just prejudged. And we all, as an African American, I just don't think people understand that we're taught that way though. We got to be twice as good. We can't. We carry that burden of 1619 on our shoulders. Our ancestors, those first slave ships that came over. Every black person carries that load. Like they did this so we can get here. You know what I mean? We can't let them down. You know what I mean? And that's some of us slip. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I mean, for me, I know I carried around a lot. I mean, it's my whole life has been a journey, and I'm just trying to, I did things for my kids that my father couldn't do for me. You know what I mean? And hopefully my kids will do for their kids that what I couldn't do for them, and it's generational.
Well, I published kind of a look back. I interviewed Ronnie Lott about 5 years ago, the great NFL football player, of course, and he talked about the importance of having a moral compass and character, and when the United States, when we're kind of following that, right, we can be the greatest country we can be, and it seems like what you're talking about is something everyone should aspire to, being the best version of themselves, and regardless of their background, right? So, I mean, to me, that's very inspiring, what you're talking about.
Right, but you're seeing it now. You're seeing it now with people who are against wearing a mask and so far in public. And for me, I'm not. I don't like it, but I'm doing it because I personally think it's the right thing to do, and that's what I said. And someone said to me the other day that because I posted, I said I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. I ain't saying it's right for you. I'm saying it's the right. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do for me. And I see people want to fight about it, like no one's going to tell me well, yeah, they are. People, they're constantly telling us what to do, man. It's like, you can't leave without your license. You can't drive without a license. You can't have a car without insurance. You know what I mean? There's just things that you just can't do. I mean, you can't even pass a driver's license test. If you're supposed to wear glasses, you have to wear glasses when you drive. And I mean, if it says so on your license, it says you wear glasses, you could get a ticket for not having your glasses. You literally can get a ticket. So, but it's like there's all kinds of things that you pay car insurance every single month, and you may not even need it, but you still got to pay it. That's a law. If you don't, they drop you. And if you get caught without insurance, it's a fine. So don't tell me that nobody's going to tell you what to do. They're constantly telling you what to do. A mask is the one thing that will save lives. And that's all I'm saying. That's why I wear it. And I think if it's an inconvenience for me for 5-6 minutes at a time, when I go into the grocery store, when I go into a gas station, or if I'm walking down through the farmer's market, when you're around people, not just for me, but for the person who don't wear it. So I don't know if I'm a carrier. That person don't know if they're a carrier. I don't know what family member you have at home that, I care about my family members. I care about my friends. So I'm not saying you don't care. It just appears that you don't.
Well, of course, the other advantage you have is you're very experienced at wearing masks. So it's not that same ski mask from 30 years ago, is it?
I gotta remember that.
Yeah.
Tie that in show when I do that the next time.
Well, that's what, I look forward to meeting you in person and hearing one of these, seeing you at one of these shows. I really appreciate getting to know you the last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and create a transcript out of it, because the audio, I have a feeling, had some problems, but I was able to gather the content from it. So I really appreciate your time.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for having me.
And where can people find you?
Oh man, go to cwillimyles.com. Just go cwilly.com. And then that'll pull up everything. Or you can go to America's Everyday Comedian. See Willi Myles. Just Google my name and everything pops up under my name. See
excellent. And you do show up there. So I'm going to hit the end stream now. Stay on for a second.